Thermo Fisher, we do have their platform in molecular, but we don't use that for our ANA testing for autoimmune.
Okay, got it. And just out of curiosity, do you happen to know which Thermo platform you are using in your sister lab?
So for the Thermo, we have the Ion S5 Plus, which we use for NGS. We have the Ion Chef that's used for the library preparation for the NGS. And then we recently also got a capillary electrophoresis unit. I think 16 capillaries from them. So I don't know the exact model number.
Okay, so
those are the.
Yeah, and I think for this study, we want to focus on the platforms that you would be using for autoimmune diagnostic testing. So I know, like the C platform from Thermo ABI, you might be running like Sanger sequencing or fragment analysis, and of course, the Ion Chef that's NGS work. But here we're specifically looking for the panels that you would be using, the systems that you would be using to test for, things like connective tissue disease or antiphospholipid syndrome, celiacs, thyroid disease, rheumatoid arthritis. So, it sounds like those other platforms, like you said before, they're used for other use cases. So we'll just stick with the ones that are in use in your lab. And that would be BD and Ortho are your two providers, you said, for
most of it is done on the BD. Yeah.
Okay. How did you end up with the BD system? Do you mind just sort of, taking me back in time and telling me a little bit about, how it made its way into your lab, and then we can jump over to, considerations that you have, areas where you think things could be improved, that sort of thing. So, maybe start by telling me a little bit about the system itself, how long it's been in place, why that was decided to be brought in as opposed to the Bio-Rad, which you said was a little bit expensive for reagents. Just tell me the full story.
Yeah, so for the we use BD system in the flow lab for flow cytometry, and so we have sort of agreement like system-wide with them for the equipment portion, and so we get, I think, significant discount on the reagents as well as the system. And I think that's why the decision was made to bring in BD.
Okay. How old is the system?
I think it's a year old, maybe. I'm not sure the exact duration.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we recently acquired it.
Got it. And do you happen to know the model or any other details regarding the system that you've gotten from BD? I'm not as familiar with BD systems. I think you're the first person that we've talked to in the study that's using BD for this work.
It's called the BACTEC ANA. I'm not sure about the model number.
Got it. All right. So maybe once you're able to, maybe after we wrap up here today, if you're able to track down that information and shoot it along via email, that would be very helpful for us in being able to, further drill down on these recommendations.
Sure.
Yeah. So then, as far as factors that you're considering when you're choosing a specific autoimmune diagnostic test coming from a specific manufacturer, so either, Becton Dickinson or Ortho, what are the factors that you consider to be the most important when you're making that decision? I know you and your two colleagues, you said before, are giving recommendations on performance metrics. So maybe you could talk a bit about that, as well as any other factors that you look into when you're deciding which diagnostic test you want to ultimately utilize?
Sure, yeah. So it depends obviously on the most important is the sensitivity of the assay. And so, like I said, in our case, I mean, we cannot really, we try, like 1:80 is the lower limit of detection, but at the dilution, but uh, we do find it's not very sensitive, especially in early stages. So the sensitivity is one factor. The cost of the test in terms of being able to do batch testing versus individual. So mostly for the ANA we try to do batch test where we um, run once a day all the samples, and then it's anything that needs a reflex testing will be also batched based on the ANA screen. The other thing we look at is the accessibility in terms of being able to have random access versus like which lets you do continuous loading versus being able to batch. Uh, in case for stat cases, like we occasionally get stat ANAs, especially from like sometimes with OBs when from labor and delivery. So in those cases, we would like to have system that can give us random access. Then the other thing is to look for integrability into your LIS or your. We use CoPath for the path side, and then Sunquest, Cerner on the lab side. So being able to interface it so that we can directly send the results across the system is also something that we would want from a system. And then obviously the footprint, because if it can be a benchtop system, it's much preferable rather than standalone, which takes significant more space. So, I mean, that probably kind of are the top things that we are looking for.
What does your system look like now in terms of size? And where is it?
It's a benchtop.
It's a benchtop system? Okay. And what is your throughput like? So, how many autoimmune tests are you performing in a day? It sounds like everything would be coming to your lab across all of your various sites for autoimmune diagnostic testing. So how many samples are you typically running?
Yeah, so for the ANA, we get anywhere from 35 up to 45, 50 samples a day, depending on, the workload. I mean, the stat results, stat cases probably 2 or 3, maybe in a day. Sometimes it's just one or two in a day. But most of the ANAs that are reflexed, I would say it's anywhere from 12 to 14 or maybe 15 a day that get reflexed.
Got it. And you said normally you're batching, aside from those stat cases, which need to be run as soon as possible, obviously. So when you're batching, um, how how many samples are you batching at a time, I guess, and how many separate runs are you doing each day?
Well, so we typically do one run in a day, and so we try to sort of our cutoff is 1 p.m. for the next day's run. So basically, try to batch everything that comes, and because the processor, the person on the ANA bench starts early on the first shift, so we try to get everything on the instrument. Typically, I'm not sure what the throughput is. I can again check and let you know, but like I said, around average 35